Okay, everyone. For today's fun-filled adventure in painting, this is a blank canvas. That's a great place to start if you're going to do a painting. This is a homemade panel. It's cotton, and then I did my special gessoing. I can see that video somewhere else if I can put a link to it somewhere. And so today we're going to paint this right here. This is a picture I think I found on the internet because I'm pretty sure I didn't take it myself. So is what it is I like how there's all this rock texture in here. And then you get the distant cliff and everything. So I think we can get some really cool textures out of it. It's really neat seeing some feeling, emotion. Now this, don't adjust your cameras or anything, your television set. This is black and white. I printed it black and white on purpose so that I can kind of fill in what I want it to be and push and pull the colors, the values, the this, that, to make it what I want, because this is a studio painting. It's not plein air. We're in the studio here. So let's just have some fun and paint this and really work on creating the feeling, if you will, the emotion in it. That's what we're really going to work on today, I think. And then again, I don't know. It's not lunchtime yet. All right, let's get to work. For starters, we have our palette. Now, if you see here, the palette is empty, so and I can't do this one-handed, so anyway. Alrighty, everybody, so here we go. All right, I don't know about you, but usually I listen to books, maybe talk radio, podcasts, something like that. That's what I usually listen to when I'm painting. Yeah, for the books though, on Audible, I always go for the classics. So I don't know. All right, so here we go. So what we're doing is we are mixing up a color that we're going to use to draw on the panel with. Now, what color is that? Doesn't really matter. Something dark, something mid, something light, whatever you think will work. That's the important thing, because all we're doing is just laying out our roadmap, also known as the composition, and to kind of figure out where we're going to put the rest of our painting. Now, side note about this this particular video. First of all, I'm using a different camera on the left side, and then and some not really great lighting that I'm trying to work with here. And this is the indoor studio. And then two, you see how I'm switching down to the picture of the palette? Well, is what I did is I synced up the videos to try and figure out exactly where the two videos match, and so I could just kind of cut back and forth and show you how as I'm mixing them. However, in my lack of knowing how to do this, it didn't really work out that well. So just know that as you see the camera cut down to the other one, like right here where you see me adding and subtracting a little bit of color and doing this and that, that's just for reference. That's just to kind of show you how I mix it on the palette, because you don't want to mix your colors on the painting. You want to mix your colors on the palette itself. So I'm sorry, it's just I gotta get better at this, or get a video guy or girl to do this video portion of this, and I can just paint and this and that, because I gotta be honest, these videos take a long time to do. I think the painting is like an hour and a half, but then the videos are like 8 hours to edit and cut and this and that, and then I'm going through and doing the whole voiceover for this stuff. That's really a lot of work, so but so what I'm really trying to do here is try and get the whole studio set up. And I know some other people, PinkTube and this and that. I mean, I've seen their setup, and it's like, wow. If I had a cool 50, 100 grand to, set up a studio like that, it'd be dynamite. But I do not. Mostly because I haven't made a dime out of this yet. Which brings me to the next part of the video here. So, I've done these, and I've been doing a few of them, as you may or not have been following along, to try and get good at doing videos and be painting, because I'm telling you, it's just not as easy as you think it is. So, with that in mind, I'm going to try and do this on, try and make a dime doing this stuff. I've had people say that they would love to see my videos, you know, Alrighty, so, okay, here we are. So let's talk about the painting here. So now I printed out the reference photo that you see there off to the side. I printed it off in black and white. Now, the reason I do that is because I want to make up the colors. Kind of like how I explained in the beginning. But not only that, I want to make up the colors, and this just kind of gives me a guidance for the value system. So, which is really kind of, I don't know, I think it's different shit. I don't know, dude. It's just what I'm doing. You do you. Anyway, so the whole point is, though, is the foreground rocks I want to kind of really knock back, or make them, you know, really easy on the eye, so it just leads you into the distant cliffs. As the different distant cliffs and all this stuff goes into the shoreline, into the waves, this and that, and do a beautiful sunset in the background. Anyway, yeah, that's really all there is to it. But yeah, so the idea is I want to do these videos and get good enough making the videos so that I can, you know, sell them or monetize them or something, because I gotta be honest with you guys, I need to make some money because this is getting pretty bad. And I've noticed, like every other artist that I have seen and talked to and this and that, you know, like, yeah, how do you make a living at it? And with the exception, I think, about one, maybe two people, it all comes from, not all of it, but a vast majority of it comes from teaching. You know, holding workshops, teaching class, some type of class, teaching this and that, you know, and then that leads to other things. You know, the sale of the paintings comes from the workshops, and all that other stuff. Because I've been trying to do it where I just go to shows, and then I'm trying to get into galleries, and that is just not I don't know what the trick is to get into a gallery. I really, honestly, God, don't know. So if you're like, hey, Eric, what's it like getting into a gallery? I'll be like, I don't know. So, you know, I have been in some galleries, and it's like, it's not really a two-way partnership. You know, it's not like, hey, I'm going to put my work in here and work with you and this and that and everything. You know, it's not that at all. There was one I was in, and they were actually pretty cool, pretty nice. I mean, they weren't the owners, they're really cool, and they did sell a couple of my paintings, but they closed the shop down, and that was that. But you know, there's other galleries that either disappeared or moved or something like that, and I'm like, where's my paintings? Where's what? You know, you're like, all right, for PC, because you don't know if they ever sold your painting, you don't know if it was moved, you don't know this and that, and you have to like really kind of keep up on them and, you know, work with them in order to really kind of, you know, getting good and make it a real good relationship where maybe you talk to them, you know, once a week, once a month, something. I don't know. I'd like to talk to somebody to find that out. Or some gallery owners. I'd like to talk to them. But every time I try to talk to a gallery owner like that, it just seems like, you know, you're really busting their balls. That's me, man. So if you want to leave a comment that you're a gallery owner and you know, you can kind of give some perspective on that end of the deal, that'd be kind of neat. You know, especially like size galleries. I know some others who do nothing but pump work into their galleries, and they make like a really good living doing that. So, you know, I'd like to kind of crack that egg and see how that all works. So that's my gallery experience. Yeah. All right. So what else? You know, as you can see, we're going through and adding in, you know, the distant gray rocks. You know, even though those rocks are wet on the bottom, you know, up top they get a little gray, and you gotta knock them back to make them fit in the scene, and so that it kind of reads well. You know, but we're just using the roadmap to just kind of block in a lot of color here, block in a lot of just massive shapes, and that's all we're really looking for. I'm also kind of speeding up the video a little here because, I mean, it's even boring me a little bit. But you want to, but so what I'm going to do is just kind of cutting through scenes so that you can just kind of see the progress a little bit quicker. That way you don't have to, you know, click yourself and all that stuff. I should probably just put in some serene music and just let you zone out to it. That might be an idea. Alrighty, so here we are back to palette mixing. Now I'm making up this like really cool color here, and I don't know where the paint actually ended up being. Beats me, man. Keeping it thin though. See that? That's just odorless mineral spirit Gamsol stuff. I'm not sure what's better. I found this other stuff. It was made by I don't know, some naturey place. I don't know. And that stuff was pretty good, but it tended to dry everything really quick. So, I don't know. Play around with your materials. Find something you like. Anyway, so we're using, some cooler colors and some of the stuff to bring the cliffs, the vertical faces. It gets more vertical, the more cooler it gets. So you can see in those shadow areas. And then, if you took a sneak peek at the painting first, you'll see that, then the other parts of the cliffs will get warm as I work them back into the shadows area. I don't know. I'm using a pretty small brush, by the way. This brush lasted like one painting. That was it. I have to get another one. And that's another thing, man. Art supplies are freaking expensive, dude. I mean, holy jeez, dude. I don't know. There's another video where I went into, the Blick store to get some acrylics, and I walked out $250 later. It's like, are you kidding me? For acrylics? I was like, ooh. Man, more sugary sugar mom. I'm gonna pay for this, or I need to start monetizing this show. One of the two. I need to start making some money here because I've been listing these paintings on ArtPal. And that hasn't gotten anything. eBay, funny enough, I used to do eBay a lot when I was first starting out. And I probably sold close to, I want to say 80 paintings I sold on eBay, and they were all 8x10s, give or take. And I sold them for $100, give or take. Some went up to 150. Some actually got some pretty good bids. Some didn't move at all. But for the most part, I sold just about all my work that I put on eBay. And so I'm starting to do that again in terms of, just trying to clear out inventory for sawbucks here. So I can buy some more material, more materials, more paint brushes, more sanity, all that good stuff. But anyway, as you can see in the cliffs here, I kind of warmed up some of the cliffs here to kind of contrast with the shadow area. Beats me if it was sunny enough out there that day to even do that. I didn't take the picture. But so I'd like to teach these, do online teaching and everything, because I think it'd be kind of fun, to be honest with you. I've always, in the workshops I've taught and the workshops I've done, and getting up and standing in front of everybody and teaching. It's been a lot of fun. But to do it from my home studio and everything, you got to have a setup. You know, the computer, the camera, the equipment, everything. The knowledge and know-how I can get to it, you know, and the technical stuff is not a problem. It's just getting the proper equipment to be able to do a proper show. Because even if you look like the old Bob Ross stuff, and by the way, he gets like millions of views on his videos, like millions of views for each one. And you're like, are you kidding me? How? You know, the guy's not even around anymore. You know, but most other plein air painting or painting, studio painting, everything, it just doesn't get that much. So it just tells you that, A, there is some type of audience out there for it, and B, you know, you gotta just go for the market you're in. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, rewrite the world and make billions of dollars or anything like that, but you know, enough to pay for gas and buy some more supplies, and that's happiness to me, man. I'm too old. I've gotten past the whole, you know, set the world on fire stuff. I'm kind of in the just make enough to get by and enjoy it, you know. I don't know if you don't know that or not. You know, it's so funny because I'm also taking this class at the JC, and there's, you know, a lot of college age kids in there. One older guy, and I just look around these kids. I'm just like, man, do you guys even know? And it's kind of weird because, like, when I was in college, you know, during art classes, because they're so long, you know, there's always breaks during art classes, and you get to know each other, talk and hang out and everything. But with these kids, it is like the biggest noiseless thing ever. It's like, you know, all the breaks, everything. I don't know who anybody is. I don't know first thing about anybody. All I know is they all look kind of weird, and they all have their own, you know, artistic, you know, angst crap here and there and this and that. And it's just kind of funny. And I'm just like, but it's just looking around, you can see who's going to do what in life. You know, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, who's this and that. I wonder what somebody looked at me and, you know, thought, you know, oh, here's a guy who's going to really kick ass and do well in life, and, you know, he's going to be a superstar, he's going to be an athlete, you know, successful businessman, you know, and nothing turned out. So kind of makes you wonder what the perception of you have on other kids. So anyway, that's that. All right, here we are. We're just putting in some of the darker foreground, and these are the darker shadow areas where we're going to build up our lights around them. And yeah, we're just going through. I'm just kind of looking at the painting, trying to figure out what marks went where and what shadow areas. Just kind of messing these shadow areas using the same color. That's key there. You know, to give a harmonious kind of, you know, harmonious structure in our shadows. Now it does get, the color does vary out just a little bit here and there as you pick up more paint from the ground or from your palette. And oh, look at this. See what? It got too thick, guys. It got too thick. I had to scrape some stuff out there. All right. So anyway, you know, with your shadows, you want to just kind of, you know, block them in all at once. That way you get a nice solid shadow structure to then build up your lights around it a little. That's it. By the way, you like this new dither transition I'm doing here? I think it works pretty good if you ask me. Dither. I think that was dither. I don't know. Alright, so anyway, I'll just keep quiet while you guys enjoy the painting process here. Now, these are happy rocks, okay? I just want to reiterate that these are happy rocks. And we're just going to put a happy rock in here. And go back and fix some of this and that, you know, you go back and forth as you... Anyway, here we go. Okay, so now here's what I did. A, I sped up the video. B, I got a big brush, okay? And I'm just massing in this big, massive area with the texture and what have you with this bigger brush. I'm still keeping the paint pretty thin. This isn't thick paint at all. I'm keeping it pretty thin. But remember, the whole idea was to make it easy for the eye to go into the background. This whole foreground thing is just kind of a setup scene for the background. So I don't want hard lines, I don't want hard shadows, I don't want hard lights and everything to kind of confuse the viewers as I'm trying to lead the eye in. But we still need to give it just enough depth and detail to let you know that you're standing on a rock cliff face here, kind of thing. I hope you don't mind that I sped it up, because you know, it need to be sped up a little, guys. Yeah, I didn't get my degree in video editing, funny enough. So yeah, I'm still trying out a few things here. But if I were to do this as a like a lesson, this is what I would do is, you know, have someone else there with me. So when it's a live lesson, there's, you know, someone monitoring the computer for questions, who can, you know, switch cameras, who can monitor everything. And it's you know, it's a whole setup. It really is. I mean, you know, like when you see the actors on screen, you know, oh my gosh, it's just them. But no, there's, you know, a whole crew behind it. And, you know, that's what I'm kind of lacking right now. And with no money, you know, you gotta do it all yourself. You know, there's no one will help you. No one helps you do anything. I've been very surprised in life, getting older, how many people really do not know how to do much of anything. I worked as a strong where I volunteered at this one game company, and the guy who was in charge, who was kind of like the creative director, he was kind of like the whole head design of the whole thing, was the most magnificent idiot I've ever known in my life. And I went to high school with him. And he was the weakest link you've ever seen in a chain of people doing stuff. But yet he was in charge, and he talked like he wrote the book on it. But when it came down to it, didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. I mean, it was like jarring. Anyway, I found that to be true with a lot of people in life. They can talk like they wrote the book on it, but when it comes down to it, they don't know how to do a goddamn thing. Well, in my art school, I'll teach you how to do a goddamn thing. Because a lot of people take these, you know, plein air workshops, and they think that they're going to go from 0 to hero in a 2-3 day workshop or a 1 week workshop. Sorry, it just doesn't work like that. You need to have a lot of foundation skills to get up to the point where you can just go out and do a happy painting out in the field. Now, I'm not saying you can't go out in the field and do a happy painting before you do all this other stuff, but it sure makes it better. I'll tell you that much. Because, I mean, I was like a pretty good artist, okay artist, you know. And then when I took the workshop, I took the Ken Oster workshop, and it was like, holy crap, did things change. But, you know, it's like I finally learned how to paint. Something nobody in art school ever taught me how to do. And so, you know, I went to a Cal State Fullerton. Anyway, you have to go through a progressive learning of doing art in order to do fine art. Now, if you're just doing contemporary art, where you just, you know, make a big mess somewhere and call it art, that's not art, that's marketing. I'm sorry, that's marketing. But fine art is the idea that you're going to, you know, use a progressive, learned, academic approach to learning how to draw and paint. Now, I know that sounds like, oh, you just took all the creativity out of it. Not really. Not if you do it right. Because there is a certain approach to take to being able to do these types of paintings. They produce amazing results. They produce amazing paintings. They produce amazing work. And taking a class or a, you know, some structured stuff on how to do it really demystifies and really takes a huge amount of the frustration out of it. So if you're ever painting, you're like, oh, why doesn't it look right? Why isn't this? Why doesn't it that? It's because you're missing a lot of foundational stuff that you need to work on. And so if I were to do this little teaching class thing, I would set up like a whole bunch of lessons, like probably like 20, 30 lessons, and then just, you know, progressively keep going through them week by week, and you just keep going through them. And, you know, you jump in at whatever point you jump in, and, you know, you're doing the lessons, because they all kind of build upon each other. Even when you get to the very end, you're like, oh, I got to the last lesson. Well, start over, because you're going to need to get to round 2. And then round 2 leads to round 3, 4, 5, to the point where you're like, okay, I got it, thanks. I'm going to keep my money. So that is kind of the point and the high hopes that I'm going to take my little online painting class. And I hope you come along for the fun ride. I will be making a big announcement to that somewhere else. I don't know where. Probably in one of these videos. I don't know. Okay, so you remember in the mixing, you're mixing it there on the palette. You're doing your fine adjustments there on the palette, not on the painting itself. So like when I'm down there getting that color, I know exactly what I'm doing with that color. It's gonna be the same color, white, cooler, warmer, but I know for a fact what I'm doing when I'm putting it up there. I know what's gonna happen. And that is part of color theory, part of a little lesson. It's all about color theory. Because there's this one thing, color theory and drawing and composition, how to find a composition, how to work on it, how to do all that rule of threes. I mean, there's a lot more besides this is a brush, these are some paints, put down 50 different colors and do a painting and think you're going to really knock one out of the ballpark. It might happen for you. You might be one of those people that life just works like that. I don't know. Not for me, though. All right, well, I'm just going to be quiet for a few more minutes, put on some serene background music and let you just watch the painting. One of the things that I was contemplating at here is, should I make the picture like a little inset in the screen? And the answer is, I thought about it, and the conclusion I came to was no, because the point is, I don't want you to look at the picture and think to yourself, oh, is he copying the picture just right? Oh, he messed up there, he messed up there. That's not the point of the painting. The point is when you do a painting, the only time you're ever going to see, if someone looks at that painting, they don't have the reference photo to look at. They don't have the this and that. Maybe it's a place that they know of, this and that, but it's what you tell them in the painting that makes the difference. That's all. So, if there was a class of 30 of us doing the exact same painting from the exact same reference photo, you would have 30 different paintings. It's 30 different paintings, because it gets, that's the uniqueness of each individual in the creating of art. Is anyone right or wronger? Not really. But funny enough, there are rules that you can follow to be like, well, it does this, it does that, it covers the bases, and that's what makes it a nice painting. It's like, why are some people beautiful and some people aren't? And, well, because there's a certain harmony and proportions to one's face that makes them better or worse looking. Not calling anyone out here, but it's just human nature, and that's that. Deal with it. And so paintings have the same thing. You have a certain structure that goes along with it in terms of your masses, your values, your shapes, your this or that will make a painting better looking or worse looking. So that is something to keep in mind. All right, more serene music. Alrighty, let's get back into some fine details here. So, as as painting starts to get near the end, that's the famous question. When does the painting end? When do you finish your painting? And there's like all kinds of squirrely horseshit answers. But, there's a certain point where you step back a few times and this and that, make a few last marks, and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's done. Now, some people are ultra perfectionists and they'll go in and noodle it for 3 days. Some people are less perfection, more, I don't know what that word would be, but, more just like, it just happens and just let it go. Let the happy accidents stay. I'm kind of in that boat. So as I'm just kind of going through noodling, just drawing in some final stuff here and there. Now you're going to see like, it's like looking good, looking okay, this and that. And then I'm going to go through it and I'm going to make one or two little marks that I thought took it from like, oh, okay, that's a good painting to, wow, that finished it, that did it, that said it. So at some point we're going to see that happen. I think it's going to happen pretty soon, guys. Real soon, I think. Right here. Right there. You see that? That was a happy accident. That was a happy accident. That really, I think, just really set the painting, and it really set that focal area of being down on the shore there and, getting swept away. All right, here we go. Okay, so what we did is a painting here, and as you watch the video, it wasn't until like that last minute where I was trying to fix something, I put in that little mark and I was like, oh my god, stop. That's it. That was the mark I was missing. That was the thing that just made it come alive and all that good stuff. So as you can see, it's just, a lot of masks and shapes and this and that and a lot of fun textures. And really it was, this is a lot of fun to paint. Is it precisely what that is? No. Good. But do I like the colors and the structures and the shapes and the line quality and everything? Yeah. So, that's it. So, we threw a signature on it, and I'm going to enter this in the California Art Club Sierras to Sea show, and that's on onlinejuriedshows.com, and I'm going to enter it there, and then we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. I hope you like this, and I hope you like the other video because it's a better camera, and I'm not really sure how this is all going to work out, to be honest with you, because I'm looking to do a couple of programs where you can then join my little art school, and then we can talk about art, we can do art, we can make art, we can do that, and all kinds of fun stuff. So this was just to try out the new camera on here on YouTube. Like, click, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your kitty cat, you can tell your dog. They're pretty good at stuff. All right, well, now to go edit the video.